So the protein shake, so this is my post-workout meal.
Bread without anything on it is diabolical.
Diabolical. You've mostly been around people that have emotions and not psychopathy like me.
Here with Dr. Mike Isratella, and we absolutely just crushed a back workout to the point where I couldn't raise my arms afterwards because back and shoulders, my lats were tight and my shoulders were tired, meaning I had absolutely nothing left. Now, that's on Mike's channel. If you want to go check that out, watch this and go ahead, check that out after. We'll link it in the description. But we're going to talk about eating to recover from a workout, talk a bit about bodybuilding and how to eat to recover for bodybuilding when you're in a prep or when you're trying not to gain too much fat, when you're trying to lose weight versus eating afterwards for strongmen. Now, you might be surprised about the simplicity of the evidence. Now, you guys know, and if you don't know already, you should, that Mike is the man when it comes to practical scientific evidence and how you can apply that to your results. So let's talk about training first. Basically, multiple sets to failure. We're breaking down muscle tissue, talk spark notes, 10,000 foot overview. Physiologically, what are we trying to overcome?
Well, one of the things that happens during training is that you use up your internal muscle stores of carbs called glycogen, and it just basically is used for every rep that you do. And so before you do your next hard workout, especially for that muscle group, you're going to want to restore glycogen levels back to close to their higher levels because that potentiates your best performance.
Of course.
If you have been on a low carb diet for a while, prepping for a show, you know the price to pay for that, which is shit performance.
Yeah.
The other thing is that lower glycogen levels, and a lot of people don't know this, are associated with and in part cause lower responses of muscle growth to training. So if you have full glycogen stores and you resistance train that muscle, it grows a lot afterwards. If you have low glycogen stores, not only is there an energy problem to train, though you can just do more sets and overcome that, there is a signaling problem where lower levels of glycogen inside the muscle actually cause a molecular signaling cascade that reduces your probability of getting your best growth. So one of the reasons why eating plenty of carbs and calories off season to gain weight is very good, and as many carbs as you can during contest prep, is because the reloading of glycogen kind of ASAP, it's not super rush, but having well-loaded glycogen actually helps you grow more muscle in the long term.
So talk to me about, so we're sending a catabolic response to the body of breaking down muscle.
Yep.
What do you think if we're trying to keep glycogen stores as high as possible, intra-workout carbs, is that something that you believe in?
Intra-workout carbs have a really good advantage in two perspectives. One, it's been shown that tasting sweet things actually gives you a performance boost in many cases during a workout. And they try this they had a regular carb shake people would drink on like a cycloergometer and it made them better. And then they were like, how do we know it's not the sweet taste? So they gave them like sucralose and it still made them perform better. Right. So there's that psychological part, which is really good. The other big benefit is your nervous system loves carbohydrate, and simple carbs that you can digest really easily, even during your workout, keep your blood glucose levels higher, and your nervous system, peripheral, central, brain, they all thrive on that shit. So if you're not very low blood sugar at the end of training, you can perform better. And that makes a little bit of a difference for intra-workout. Here's a problem. When your muscles are contracting really hard, they basically they don't do two things. One, they don't translocate a lot of carbs into them while they're really fucked up in the process of training. And two, they almost certainly don't resynthesize glycogen on the fly. They wait till after. Yeah. Sympathetic nervous system, action, activity, fatigue. Parasympathetic, relaxation, recovery, reintegration, all that stuff. So in the workout, I wish it was the case that when you drank carbs during your workout between sets, they like refilled your muscles on the spot. Yeah. That doesn't happen. Okay. The time delay is too long, and mechanistically, you really can't refill much when you're training hard. This is a really well illustrated with ultra runners who like have a real hard time getting food to go into the muscles because they're running the whole fucking time. Yeah. It's not going to work that way. But for the nervous system effect of the mouth rinse situation, the sweet taste, and the nervous system feeding of the carbs to a little bit of an extent, intra-workout carbs can be helpful. In workouts that are like less than an hour, hour and a half, you're not even going to detect a difference. 2 hours and stuff like that, it'll make a difference if you have a little protein shake with Gatorade mixed together. You're fucking golden.
Cool. Now, we're talking about blood sugar into the bloodstream, not necessarily into the muscle. Now, after the workout, now we're into blood sugar or carbohydrates getting back into the muscle. Yeah, when we talk about chronic disease, which is a large part of my background, diabetes prevention and insulin sensitivity, we talk about independent pathways of glucose uptake going for 48 hours post-exercise. Now, of course, there's going to be a peak of that. How you said not a huge rush to get carbohydrates in. There's a practical component if you're a strength athlete, if you're someone trying to gain weight, you got to get your total carbs and calories in. But what kind of rush would you be in to get it in after your workout?
There's a couple reasons why I like to do earlier than better for carbohydrates and protein post-workout. One is you're in a catabolic state after workout, muscle breakdown. You kind of don't want to be in that state for too much longer than necessary. So you just kind of get around to just like putting that to an end by eating. Mm-hmm. The other thing is your muscles are most absorptive to carbohydrate in the blood immediately after training, several minutes after, especially when you start to calm down nervous system wise. Mm-hmm. And then for just like the next 2 hours, they're the most absorptive. Now, still very absorptive the farther you go out, but the most absorptive right after. And if you're a big guy, you got a lot of food to eat, you might as well get to eating it ASAP because you got a lot of food to eat. People will do a leg workout and roll around the ground for 2 hours after, which I get. Yeah. But that's 2 extra hours. You're not eating all day long. In a muscle gain phase, you might not be able to put the whole day together and get that shit done.
Yeah, it's incredible to me when people talk about recovery and they'll hyperfixate on one thing, say rolling out muscles or stretching post-workout, and they'll forego nutrition, they'll forego sleep, they'll forego sympathetic fatigue to do these things. It's quite baffling. Now let's get on to the super secret, super scientific, extra special meal we have prepared for us. So post-workout, what are we talking about?
So for you and I, it's almost the identical meal, but you're a slightly larger king.
Thank you.
Yes. And so we just have whole grain bread that you spilled everywhere.
Crumbs are crumbs, baby.
Crumbs are crumbs, man. Crumb it up. We have whole grain bread and we have protein shakes. So the protein shake, so this is my post-workout meal, and I eat it for a couple of reasons. One, that bread has about 25 grams of carbs and 1 gram of fat per slice, which means it's low fat, which just means that the carbohydrates get into your bloodstream faster, bigger insulin spike, they get into the muscles quicker. That's really good stuff. Mm-hmm. The other thing is because they're whole grain, the bread is quite healthy for you. Like guys will eat chicken and rice after workout, but then look at whole grain bread and a protein shake, like what the fuck, bro? Like it's the same shit.
Sure.
So it checks all those boxes. And one of the reasons I do it is like, it's actually just really fast. Like I work during the day, like you and I both have day jobs. And so we have to train and then film content or do whatever we do, editing, blah, blah, blah. And that means I can just get the bread in my hands, get the protein shake going. And while I work, I just sip on the shake and have bread and I'm golden. I got carbs, I got protein, a little bit of fats in there. We're Gucci, man. It's really that complicated.
Bread without anything on it is diabolical.
Diabolical.
I've never heard of anyone else doing that in my life.
But you've mostly been around people that have emotions and not psychopathy like me.
Apparently. So, I mean, I suppose you could use the protein shake to wash this down a little bit.
That's exactly what I do. And your protein shake, as you noted earlier, is with hot water because it's actually a casein whey blend that's really good. And with hot water, it tastes like hot chocolate.
One of the things I love most about when you talk is you take, sure, here's the evidence, and then you apply like 90% of the evidence and you go, well, the other 10% doesn't really matter. It's, well, what are you going to be able to do? Because people post-workout dogma would be whey protein because it's going to digest quickly, get into the muscle, and this like panic that we need it immediately. Yes, yeah. Casein is going to be really slow.
Yeah.
Not a big deal to you.
Not a huge deal because this is a whey casein blend. It's mostly whey and a little bit of casein. So first of all, it's already quite fast. And also, this is my post-workout meal that I expect to keep me satiated and protein fed for the next 3 to 4 hours. Like if I was to eat in an hour, yeah, I'll have just pure whey and white bread, but I got to make this last. And so I think there's this balance where, yeah, post-workout meal with high carbs, low fats, high proteins is very good. But I think people, including myself earlier in my career, took that way too far and were like, oh, like it needs to be exactly super high GI, everything. It's like, that's probably not the case. But so just do a good job, get the food in. There's a certain number of check marks you have to have, relatively low fat, relatively high carb, high quality protein. Done within 30 minutes of your workout, you start eating it like we are now. And then after that, man, there's just no more check marks left. And everything that within those confines is totally good to go. Like imagine asking someone like, you know, like, what kind of suit should I wear for this wedding when I'm just a guest? And they're like, oh, like a 3-piece suit. And you're like, okay, but like what color? They're like, dude, I don't like, is it like magenta, right? It's a white suit. Like, as long as it's like any one of the normal colors, it's totally cool. And the more you think about which color, the more you're distracting yourself with pointless details. And that's, I think, a fairly important point that more folks would benefit really thinking about, myself included in my younger years. And still, there's like shit that matters and shit that probably doesn't. And you have to understand that your degree of worrying and concern and attention to everything is limited. You only have so much time in the day and so much cortisol to secrete. And so if you can really focus on the stuff that matters, and for the stuff that doesn't, just be like, whatever's convenient, whatever I like, then you're Gucci and you're good to go.
Another thing that I think people could benefit a lot from this meal, how many grams of protein do I have?
75 grams of protein,
Okay.
15 grams of fat, and you have 125 grams of carbs.
Cool. Talk to me, if I were trying to be in a calorie surplus, talk to me about the effect that carbohydrate has on protein intake requirements. I think when people bulk, they go, I need more of absolutely everything across the board. I think the nitrogen sparing effect of carbohydrates is really interesting. So can you articulate that for me?
Yes. There's a nitrogen sparing effect of two variables. One is of carbohydrate and one is of calories. So if you are consuming a low calorie diet that's low on carbohydrate, then you arguably need more protein because you have to fight catabolism extra hard. Carbs are massively anti-catabolic. They prevent muscle loss to a huge extent. And calories are both that and anabolic. And so if you typically eat 250 grams of protein per day on a maintenance, you might need 300 grams of protein at the very end of a gnarly diet. Whereas on a muscle gain phase, if you had 6,000 calories that day and you only had 225 grams of protein, then you're probably good. I don't around with protein. I try never undereat protein just in case. But do you need to have your end of diet level of protein on a muscle gain phase? Probably not. Guys out there smashing. And the thing is, some people just on sheer momentum and like too many 90s bodybuilder vids on, you know, Machiavelli motivation. Great channel, by the way. Like, just don't take it too literally, you know. They'll be like, yeah, man, I have to eat 9.5 pounds of orange roughy every meal. Like, but do you? and it's really weird. Like, I watched like a Kevin Levrone documentary, like not documentary, it's like a 10-minute like vibes video on his diet or whatever. And he was talking about how he like just does only fish every meal and rice and veggies and nothing else for like weeks on end.
Oh God.
And like on vibes, that's so sweet, like hardcore 90s bodybuilding, right? And that's what it's for. But I fear that some people forget that it's vibes and take it literally. Because if you came up to Kevin Levrone, you're like, yeah, so if I do chicken, I'm right? He'd be like, what? No, it's totally fine. That's just his vibe that he was doing. Like, and so I think a lot of people get really crazy specific with food and think like, is it chicken or fish? You're like, bro, protein, calories, high quality sources, 5 times a day, you're fine, man. And everything else is like, I would love for there to be a world where more specific would make you better. Like it's actually a specific kind of beef and only white rice that really makes you jacked. I would love that. I would eat that shit all the time.
Sure.
Of looking through the literature, it's just not there. Do you want to piss away your time worrying about shit that doesn't matter? Or do you want to enjoy your life a little bit more, be more relaxed, and really worry about the shit that matters a ton? Like in my case, like if I want to be a better bodybuilder, which I do, posing. Posing is dog shit. So like, if I can spend more time on posing and less time thinking about like, is it a grain of rice or a thing of pasta? You're probably going to be good.
Yeah, of course. Now, one thing when you were critiquing my diet that I think is a interesting thing to unpack. Of course, you want systemic inflammation to be low to promote recovery, but as a strongman, we have to eat in excess, and in eating excess, not everything you eat is going to be on the food guide as a highly recommended food choice. So how do you juxtapose eating inflammatory foods and getting calories in with reducing systemic inflammation and trying to be able to promote recovery in the process?
Easy. You take tirzepatide for the systemic inflammation, and you take MK677 for the hunger, and you're golden. Next question. I just hacked my way out of that shit. God damn, hold on, let me take that. So listen, like there's a very easy, straightforward answer here. You have a total calorie budget that you're trying to hit. And I don't mean like hit in reverse, like try not to go over. I mean, try to get to, because strongman off season is brutal. Your body like months ago stopped wanting to eat. And you're like, nope, still putting it in there like with a like, the thing you drain your toilet with, right? The plunger effect.
Yeah.
And so what you want to do is establish a core of healthy foods that have a ton of benefits, one of which, to your point, is low inflammation. And eat as much of that core as you can, and then see how far off you are in calories. And you basically have like 2 fill points. One fill point is calories, and another fill point is how many of these can be healthy foods until I'm like at 150 grams of fiber a day and I'm shitting blood.
Yeah.
Or I'm like on meal number 3 and it's 8 p.m. and I'm still putting tuna in my mouth. Like, I ain't going to do this anymore, man. I need something tastier. Like,
at the same time.
Yes, exactly. Or just tuna comes back up the other way. All right, seriously. So get this to as reasonably high of a level as you can on good, healthy foods. And then where are you filling out? Like, imagine if you were able to eat exclusively healthy food and get to 6,000 daily calories. You'd be a god. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Try. But if it's 4,000 and after that you're like, I can't do this anymore, then you start a little condiments, a little fun food to fill it out. What you don't want to do is be like, Strongman off season, baby. Get some donuts going, get maybe a little protein in there, and then you're like, YOLO, I just need the calories. So try your best to have that core of goodness. And then on top of that, like, like an analogy for that is like, I'll try to be a good person, but like on top of that, like I can only be a good person. So I go volunteer at the old people center, right? But like if one of the old people is like walking on their walker outside of the center after I'm leaving, I'll run them over. I don't give a shit.
Perfect.
I've already done good that day.
Yeah. You've mastered that.
You want me to do more good, really?
Amazing. Well, guys, let us know what you took away from that. Go ahead, pop it in the comments. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and check out our workout on my channel down below. Till tomorrow, lift heavy and be kind.